The main interest was not necessarily to make a funny piece, but to see what is actually this comical body. How does it move? How does it function? And then the other inspiration I had for the piece was a text by a French philosopher Henri Bergson, and he wrote an essay about laughter, and this is more than 100 years old now. He wrote it in 1900. But he has a very physical way to explain why would we laugh at someone that stumbles over a stone, or why do we think this repetition is silly, or and then Bergson, he also analyzes the way like comedies are written. It's also a lot about the mechanic and the repetitive, and how this sometimes makes a situation even more absurd.
Were there any surprises during the process, like the results that you have expected?
Yeah. Actually, this process, it was for me, it was producing many other topics and questions that continued also to be interesting for me in other pieces that not necessarily have that not necessarily deal with the comic. So in that sense, it was really a research on these elements. Okay, what is a stiff body? What is a body that tries to do complicated tasks? What is a body that that tries to orientate itself in the space? And so it was actually in the end more working on these questions and improvising a lot. And then I worked together with a product designer from Slovenia, Jaka Plesic, and he made this, you will see it later in the piece, it's white objects, and he made these objects that have little motors, so they move a little bit, and this kind of question, okay, of an object that is kind of dead or mechanic, and the body that is alive, and so I wanted to have these objects also, so part of the work was also how to deal with these objects, how to interact with them physically, how to play with control versus non-control. I try also within the performing to sometimes give very clear directions, but sometimes also letting it a bit loose, and I don't control 100% what happens, but then again I regain control, and so there's a lot about this movement in between losing and regaining control again.
Do you think that the object can be funny itself, or it gets funny and comic in connection with the artist and with the human body?
This was something that in this essay by Henri Bergson, he says that for instance, and I guess in a way he's right, I think that the comic element is something that is very much related to humans. So he says very strictly, actually an object cannot itself be funny. But I was still thinking, okay, this direction, what would be to have objects that are a little bit animated? What is to have a theater where there is also movement in the lights that seem a little bit also out of control or something like this? So it a little bit reminds to let's say human action or human actions that doesn't work. So I think there is this link, but I think the center of the comical thing is really, I think, the human body and mind, or how we deal with the world we are in.
Was there any change in the end of the process of your own perception of your own body?
In that sense, it was more, slapstick was a bit an opportunity to go a little bit more in depth with this kind of physicalities. So I was just also mentioning control versus non-control. Because like my body is, let's say in the classical sense, very, let's say, not really dancer's body or something like this. So I was really long time also doing dance training and going to dance school, and it was always very complicated for me, and I was a bit like stubborn, like I want to know how to deal with this body. And I think slapstick, it's a little bit like a part of a process how to feel at home in this body and also to enjoy things.